The alarm sounded throughout Space Station Liberty, causing Captain Ellen Walsh to jump from her bed. It was 3:24 a.m. Earth Standard Time. She grabbed her uniform and dressed quickly, her mind racing. In her 15 years with the International Space Defense Initiative, they had never used the Level 1 alarm. Something big was happening. Ellen rushed through the metal hallways of the station, passing other officers who looked just as confused and worried. When she reached the command center, she found Admiral George Bennett already there, staring at the main screen with his hands clasped behind his back. "Captain Walsh reporting, sir," she said, trying to keep her voice steady. Admiral Bennett didn't turn around. "Look at the screen, Captain." Ellen stepped forward and felt her breath catch. The screen showed a view from the long-range scanners focused on the edge of the solar system. There, just beyond the orbit of Pluto, floated hundreds of massive ships. They were unlike anything humans had built, dark, angular vessels with strange, purple lights glowing along their hulls. The smallest one was larger than the biggest ship Earth had ever created. "They arrived 20 minutes ago," said Admiral Bennett. "No warning. They just appeared." "First contact," Ellen whispered. Humanity had prepared for this day for decades, but preparation was different from reality. "Get me a secure line to Earth," ordered the Admiral to a young officer. "Priority, Alpha. All world leaders need to be on this call." Within 30 minutes, the emergency conference room on the station was filled with holographic projections of Earth's leaders. President Susan Miller of the North American Alliance spoke first. "Admiral Bennett, what are we dealing with?" "Unknown alien fleet, Madam President. At least 300 vessels. They've made no attempt to communicate yet." The room fell silent. Then a light flashed on the communication console. "Sir," said Communications Director Alan Reyes, "they're transmitting." "Put it through," ordered the Admiral. The main screen changed to show a creature that looked almost like a tall human, but with gray-blue skin, 4 eyes set in a diamond pattern, and no visible nose. When it spoke, its words were translated by the computer. "Inhabitants of Sol 3. Your world has been claimed by the Galtron Empire. We control over 300 star systems across this sector of the galaxy. Your primitive civilization will now become part of our domain. Prepare for integration. Resistance will result in planetary sterilization. You have 48 Earth hours to submit your surrender." The message ended, and the screen returned to the view of the alien fleet. President Miller's face had gone. "Hail. Options, people. I need options." Defense Secretary Richard Bell spoke up. "Madam President, I recommend immediate activation of Project Prometheus." Several of the world leaders looked surprised. "That's still experimental," said the European Union Chancellor. "We don't know if it will work." Dr. Olivia Carter, a woman with silver hair and calm eyes, joined the conversation from her laboratory deep underneath the Rocky Mountains. "Project Prometheus has passed all our tests, Chancellor. It's our best option." "And if it fails?" asked the African Union President. "Then we fight with everything else we have," answered Admiral Bennett. "But based on the size of their fleet, that would not end well for Earth." President Miller nodded slowly. "Dr. Carter, how quickly can Prometheus be ready?" 6 hours for full power up. We need to move the demonstration target into position first." "Do it," ordered the President. "Meanwhile, we should respond to their message." Captain Ellen Walsh was chosen to work with Dr. Carter to prepare the Prometheus system, while Admiral Bennett and the world leaders crafted their response. Ellen took a shuttle down to Earth, landing at the hidden facility where Dr. Carter waited. The underground complex was huge, stretching miles beneath the mountains. Scientists and military personnel rushed around preparing the most advanced weapon system humanity had ever created. "Will it really work?" Ellen asked as she walked alongside Dr. Carter through the facility. The older woman smiled slightly. "It worked in all our tests. But tests are different from reality." They reached the main control room where dozens of screens showed different parts of the system. One large screen tracked a small moon in the far reaches of the solar system, being carefully moved by engine attachments. "That's our demonstration target," explained Dr. Carter. "A small uninhabited moon, about 100 kilometers wide. We're positioning. it where the aliens can clearly observe what happens. 4 hours later, Ellen stood in the United Nations building in Geneva, as Admiral Bennett prepared to send Earth's response. The room was packed with world leaders and military officials. On screens around the world, billions of people watched and waited. "Transmitting now," said a technician. Admiral Bennett spoke clearly. "This is Admiral George Bennett of Earth's Unified Defense Council. We have received your demand for surrender. We request a meeting with your leaders to discuss peaceful options." Almost immediately, the alien commander appeared on screen again. "There will be no discussion, only surrender." Dr. Carter stepped forward. "My name is Dr. Olivia Carter, lead scientist of Earth's Defense Initiative. Before you make your final decision, we have been authorized to issue one warning." The alien commander made a sound that the translation system interpreted as laughter. "You warn us. Your species has barely left its own planet." "We may be young among the stars," Dr. Carter replied calmly, "but we've been perfecting the art of war against ourselves for millennia. We hoped our first contact would be peaceful, but we prepared for the alternative." She pressed a button, sending a data packet to the alien fleet. "This shows the location of a small moon in the Kuiper belt. We've just activated what we call a demonstration. Please observe." On screens throughout Earth and aboard the space station Liberty, people watched as the distant moon began to glow with a strange blue light. The light grew brighter and brighter until suddenly, in complete silence, the entire moon simply vanished. Where there had been a solid object 100 kilometers across, there was now nothing. "That was 0.1% of our defensive capability," said Dr. Carter. "You have 24 hours to leave our solar system. This is the only warning you will receive." The alien commander's four eyes widened before the transmission ended abruptly. Captain Ellen Walsh looked around the room at the shocked faces of Earth's leaders. The demonstration had worked perfectly, but she couldn't help wondering what would happen next. Humanity had just shown its teeth to the galaxy, and there was no going back. On the Galtran flagship, Admiral Vex Cool paced the command deck. His four eyes blinked rapidly, a sign of stress among his species. The other high-ranking officers watched him nervously. None wanted to speak first after witnessing what the humans had done to the small moon. "It must be a trick," Vexicul finally said, slamming his fist on the holographic display table. "Some kind of illusion." Science Minister Trelnax, an older Galtran with pale blue skin, shook his head. "The readings are clear, Admiral. The moon is gone. Not destroyed. Gone. The humans somehow removed all its matter from our dimension. War." Commander Zakvor growled. His dark gray skin had turned almost black with anger. "Impossible. They are primitives. Their most advanced ships can barely reach their own moon." "And yet," said Fleet Admiral Renlac quietly, "we all saw what happened." Renlac was the oldest among them, with nearly 200 cycles of experience. His skin had faded to a light blue-gray with age, and the ridges on his head had grown pronounced. "We've conquered 100 worlds," continued Zakvor. "None had weapons like this." Renlac moved to the communication station and began reviewing the human broadcasts they had been collecting. "I've been studying them since we entered this system. Their history is filled with war. They fight each other constantly." "All primitive species do," dismissed Vexcool. "Not like these humans," Renlac said. "Look at their entertainment." He pulled up samples of human movies, books, and games. The others watched scenes of humans fighting alien invasions, creating incredible weapons and surviving against impossible odds. They don't just prepare for war, they imagine it, dream about it, rehearse it in 1,000 different ways. Renlac explained. "They've been expecting something like us for centuries," Vexcool scoffed. "Fiction and reality are different matters." "Perhaps," said Renlac, "but I notice none of you have volunteered to call their bluff." The command deck fell silent. The Empire had never retreated before. Their entire culture was built on strength and expansion. To leave without conquering Earth would be shameful. "We need more information," Vexcool decided. "We will send a single ship to their planet, the Dominance." The Dominance was the second largest ship in the fleet, a dreadnought that had destroyed entire civilizations. Sending it alone would be a show of force while limiting their risk. The humans will reconsider when faced with a dreadnought directly overhead, said Vexcool. No species can maintain such advanced defenses over an entire planet. Meanwhile, back on Earth, the 24-hour deadline had passed. In the underground command center beneath Geneva, the Unified Defense Council watched the alien fleet carefully. They haven't left, said President Susan Miller. But they haven't advanced either. Admiral Bennett studied the tactical display. Something's happening. One ship is breaking formation. They watched as a massive vessel, nearly 20 kilometers long, detached from the fleet and began moving toward Earth. Dr. Carter, called the Admiral. Analysis? Dr. Olivia Carter examined the readings. Based on its size and energy output, it's a major warship, probably meant to intimidate us. Captain Ellen Walsh, who had been monitoring communications, spoke up. Sir, they're broadcasting on all frequencies. They want everyone on Earth to hear this. Put it on, ordered the President. The screens around the room showed the alien commander Vexcool. His voice boomed through the speakers as the translation system worked. People of Earth, your demonstration was impressive but limited. You cannot protect your entire world. The dominance now approaches your planet. It alone has enough firepower to destroy all your major cities. This is your final chance to surrender before we demonstrate our power. The transmission ended. Admiral Bennett turned to Dr. Carter. Is Prometheus ready for full deployment? She nodded. Yes, all systems are at 100%. What about the civilian population? Asked the African Union president. Should we order evacuations? No need, said Dr. Carter confidently. Our defense grid will handle this. Above Earth, Commander Frank Daniels watched from Lunar Base Alpha as the massive alien ship approached. The dominance was now close enough to be seen with the naked eye from the moon's surface, a dark shape moving against the stars. They're entering Earth orbit, reported Lieutenant Natalie Woodward, her fingers flying over her console. Current position is above the North Pacific. Commander Daniels contacted Geneva. This is Lunar Base. The alien vessel has established low Earth orbit, awaiting instructions. Admiral Bennett's voice came through. Stand by, Commander. All stations prepare for possible hostile action. They didn't have to wait long. The alien ship began to glow at various points along its hull as weapon systems charged. They're targeting the Pacific Ocean, said Lieutenant Woodward. An uninhabited island. Looks like they're planning a demonstration of their own. A bright beam of energy shot from the dominance toward Earth. When it hit the small island, the entire landmass vaporized instantly, leaving only steam rising from the ocean. Minimal casualties, reported an officer in Geneva. The island was uninhabited, as Lieutenant Woodward said. President Miller looked at Dr. Carter and nodded. They've made their choice. Activate the defense grid. Dr. Carter pressed her palm against a scanner and her voice rang out clearly. Authorization. Carter, Olivia M. Activate Project Prometheus. Target. Alien vessel designated Dominance. Authorization code. Phoenix Rising. Around the world, hidden installations powered up. They weren't weapons in the traditional sense. No lasers or missiles or bombs. Humanity had moved beyond such tools decades ago after nearly destroying themselves in the last war. In space, a shimmering field of energy began to form around the dominance. The alien ship tried to fire again, but its weapons couldn't penetrate the field. Then, to the amazement of everyone watching, the massive ship began to fade from view. Not exploding, not breaking apart, just gradually becoming transparent until it vanished completely. In orbit around Jupiter, hidden from the Galtron, sensors William Chen and Maria Rodriguez monitored the quantum displacement readings from their small stealth station. Transfer complete, said William, looking at his instruments. The dominance now exists approximately 2.3 million light-years from here in intergalactic space. Maria let out a long breath. That's the largest object we've ever displaced. Systems held stable throughout the process. William nodded. Let's hope they get the message this time. Back in Geneva, a cheer went up as the alien ship disappeared. Dr. Carter allowed herself a small smile. Project Prometheus worked exactly as designed, she said. We didn't destroy their ship, we simply relocated it. President Miller turned to Communications Director Alan Reyes. Send a message to the alien fleet, tell them, this was our second warning. There will not be a third. Panic spread through the Galtron fleet. The Dominance, one of their most powerful warships, had simply vanished. The crew of over 20,000 was gone in an instant. Nothing like this had ever happened in the 1,000-year history of the Empire. On the flagship, Admiral Vexcool received Earth's message. This was our second warning. There will not be a third. His hands shook as he called his commanders together. None of them would meet his eyes. Fear was not an emotion Galtrans admitted to feeling, but it filled the command room now. We must respond with full force. War, Commander Zakvor insisted, though his voice lacked its usual confidence. We have 298 ships remaining. We can overwhelm their defenses. Science Minister Trell Nax shook his head. We don't understand their technology. If they can remove a dreadnought from existence, what else can they do? Not from existence, Fleet Admiral Renlock corrected. My instruments detected a dimensional shift. I believe they sent the Dominance somewhere else. Where? Demanded Vexcool. I cannot say for certain, Renlock replied. But the energy pattern suggests a location very far from here, perhaps even outside our galaxy. The room fell silent. The Galtron Empire had conquered hundreds of worlds, but they had never faced anything like this. Their weapons were powerful, but they worked by destroying things, not by making them disappear. We must learn more, Vexcool decided. Send probes to scan their planet. Find the source of this technology. Small, unmanned ships detached from the fleet and headed toward Earth. They were designed to be hard to detect, with special shielding that had worked against all other species the Galtrans had encountered. Back on Earth, in the Space Defense Command Center, Dr. Olivia Carter studied the readings from their long-range sensors. They're sending probes, she told Admiral Bennett, trying to gather intelligence. Can we stop them? The Admiral asked. Dr. Carter smiled slightly. Yes, but I have a better idea. Let's let them see exactly what they're dealing with. She turned to Captain Ellen Walsh. Captain, please contact our lunar base. Have them activate the Ghost Protocol. Ellen nodded and sent the message. On the surface of the moon, Commander Frank Daniels received the order and immediately went to work. His team activated a special system that had been hidden beneath the lunar surface for years. Suddenly, all around Earth, the true extent of humanity's defenses became visible. Massive stations appeared in orbit, having been hidden by advanced cloaking technology. On the moon, huge weapons platforms rose from hidden bunkers. From beneath the oceans on Earth, enormous structures emerged. The Galtran probes captured all of this and transmitted the images back to the fleet. What they showed was a planet bristling with defenses far beyond what should have been possible for such a young species. On the flagship, the Galtron leaders watched in shocked silence. How is this possible? Whispered Vexcool. Our intelligence said they had only achieved spaceflight 60 years ago. Renlock had been studying human history more carefully. They advanced quickly. After their last global war, they united in ways most species never do. And they're creative. They imagine threats before they appear and prepare for them. Look at this, said Trell Nax, pointing to the images from the probes. These defense systems aren't just powerful. They're elegant, designed with a deep understanding of physics we haven't even mastered yet. Zakvor, who had been arguing for attack, now looked worried. Can we defeat them? No one answered. The question hung in the air as the probes continued to send images. One probe that had gotten close to a defense station was suddenly surrounded by a familiar shimmering field, and then it was gone. Another. Displacement, noted Renlock. They didn't even need to destroy it. Meanwhile, on a small station hidden in orbit around Mars, John Peterson and Lisa Grant watched the Galtran fleet carefully. They were part of a secret team that had been established years ago to monitor for alien threats. Their probes are pulling back, John observed. I think our little demonstration worked. Lisa nodded, her eyes still on the screens. They haven't left yet, though. They're still trying to decide what to do. John sighed. I never thought we'd actually need all these defenses. When we started building them 20 years ago, everyone said we were crazy. Not everyone, Lisa reminded him. After what we found on that crashed ship in Argentina, the world's governments took the threat seriously. We just kept it quiet to avoid panic. Back on the Galtran flagship, a heated argument was taking place. We cannot retreat, Zakvor insisted. The Empire has never backed down. It would shame us before all conquered worlds. And if we attack and lose, asked Renlac, what happens to the Empire then? We don't know that we would lose, Vexcool said, but his tone lacked conviction. Trelnax had been quiet, studying the data from the probes. Now he looked up. There's something else. The humans have been broadcasting their culture throughout their solar system for decades. I've analyzed it and I've found something interesting. He showed them more human movies, books, and historical records. They're capable of great violence, yes, but also of remarkable compassion. They make peace as readily as they make war. If we approach them differently, not as conquerors but as equals, they might be willing to talk. The Empire does not negotiate with lesser species, Zakvor growled. Perhaps, said Renlac quietly, it is time to consider that they may not be lesser. In Geneva, the Defense Council watched as the Galtran fleet remained in position at the edge of the solar system. Hours passed with no movement and no communication. What are they waiting for? Asked President Miller. Dr. Carter studied the readings. They're talking among themselves, having an argument based on the energy spikes from their ships. Can we listen in? Asked the Admiral. No, Dr. Carter said. Their communication technology is different from ours. But I think we've given them something they've never encountered before. Doubt. Finally, a message came from the Galtran fleet. The main screen showed Admiral Vexcool, but his posture was different now, less arrogant, more careful. People of Earth, he said, we have observed your defensive capabilities. The Galtran Empire acknowledges your strength. We propose a meeting to discuss terms. President Miller looked around the room at her advisors. Terms, not surrender? Admiral Bennett smiled slightly. I think they've realized we're not an easy target. Should we agree to meet? Asked the European Union Chancellor. Dr. Carter nodded. Yes, but carefully, and we should keep our defenses active. President Miller stood straighter and faced the screen. Admiral Vexcool, we accept your proposal for a meeting. We will send coordinates for a neutral location. Come with no more than 3 representatives. We look forward to peaceful discussions. As the transmission ended, Captain Ellen Walsh let out a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. Do you think they're sincere? Admiral Bennett shrugged. We'll find out, but either way we've shown them something important. Humanity will not be conquered easily. 3 days after the Galtran Empire had sent their message asking for a meeting, preparations were underway at the neutral location, a small space station that had been quickly built in orbit between Earth and Mars. The station was simple but elegant, a round structure with large viewing windows that showed the stars and planets. Inside, teams of humans worked to prepare the meeting room. The room had a large round table in the center with chairs for both humans and Galtrans, who were taller and needed different seating. Earth scientists had studied the images of the aliens carefully to ensure everything would be comfortable for them. Dr. Olivia Carter supervised the final preparations. She checked the environmental controls again. The Galtrans preferred slightly cooler temperatures and different air pressure than humans. Everything looks good, she told Captain Ellen Walsh, who would be part of the security team. The translation systems are ready. The food and drinks are prepared for both species. Ellen nodded, but her hand rested on her weapon. I still don't fully trust them. This could be a trick. That's why we have our defenses ready, Dr. Carter said calmly. But we need to give peace a chance. The human delegation arrived first. President Susan Miller led the group, along with Admiral George Bennett and Dr. Carter. They had chosen a small team to avoid intimidating the Galtrans. 2 hours later, a small ship approached the station. It was much smaller than the warships they had seen before, about the size of an Earth shuttle. It docked smoothly at the designated port. 3 Galtrans emerged. Admiral Vexcool led them, followed by Fleet Admiral Renlac and Science Minister Trell Nax. War Commander Zach Vor had been left behind, which the humans took as a positive sign. The meeting began formally, with introductions on both sides. The translation systems worked well, converting the strange clicks and humming sounds of the Galtran language into English, and English into sounds the Galtrans could understand. "Thank you for agreeing to this meeting," President Miller began. "We hope to find a peaceful resolution." Admiral Vexcool's 4 eyes blinked in sequence. "The Galtran Empire has ruled this sector for 1,000 years. We have never encountered a species with your capabilities. We developed our defenses because we feared a day like this might come," Admiral Bennett explained. "Humanity has learned through bitter experience to be prepared." Renlac leaned forward. "Your technology is beyond what your development level should allow." "How did you advance so quickly?" Dr. Carter exchanged glances with President Miller, who nodded slightly. 20 years ago, a small ship crashed in a remote region of Earth," Dr. Carter said. "It wasn't Galtran. The pilot died before we could communicate with him, but his technology taught us much. We realized we weren't alone in the universe and that we needed to prepare." The Galtrans looked at each other in surprise. Trell Nax spoke. For the first time. "Was the ship triangular with green markings?" Dr. Carter nodded. "Yes. Do you know the species?" "The Arcani," Trell Nax said. "They were once part of our empire but fled rather than submit. We have been hunting them for centuries." "The pilot's last actions were to transmit data to us," Admiral Bennett said, "warning us about the Empire. We've been building our defenses ever since." Vexcool's skin darkened with anger. "The Arcani are rebels and criminals." "Perhaps," said President Miller calmly, "but their warning gave us time to prepare, and now we must decide what happens next." The discussion continued for hours. The Galtrans explained their empire's need for resources and new territories. The humans explained their desire for peace and independence. "We have no interest in joining your empire," President Miller said firmly. "Earth will remain free." "The Empire does not allow independent worlds within its territory," Vexcool insisted. Renlac, who had been quiet for some time, finally spoke. "Perhaps an exception could be made. The humans have proven they cannot be conquered easily. A war would cost us greatly." "What are you suggesting?" Vexcool demanded. "An alliance instead of conquest," Renlac said. "The humans keep their independence, but we establish trade and cultural exchange." "The Empire does not make alliances with lesser species," Vexcool said, but his tone was uncertain. Dr. Carter looked directly at him. "Are you sure we are lesser? Our technology displaced your warship to another galaxy. We could have destroyed it, and your entire fleet, but we chose not to. That shows both our strength and our restraint." A long silence followed. The Galtrans whispered among themselves in their own language, too quietly for the translation system to pick up. Finally, Vexcool spoke. "We would need to consult with the Emperor. Such an arrangement would be unusual." "We understand," said President Miller. "Take the time you need, but know that our offer of peaceful relations is genuine, and so is our determination to remain free." As the meeting ended and the Galtrans prepared to return to their ship, Trell Nax approached Dr. Carter privately. "The ship that crashed on your world," he said quietly. "Did you recover a small green crystal from it?" Dr. Carter hesitated, then nodded. "Yes, we couldn't determine its purpose." "It's called a nexus key," Trell Nax explained. "It contains the location of the Arcani homeworld. They are not just rebels, they are the keepers of knowledge from before the Empire. Knowledge the Emperor has tried to erase." "Why are you telling me this?" Dr. Carter asked. Because I believe change is coming to the Empire, one way or another, the science minister said. And I would rather see it come through knowledge than through war. After the Galtrans departed, the human delegation gathered to discuss what had happened. Do you think they'll accept an alliance? Captain Ellen Walsh asked. Admiral Bennett shrugged. Hard to say. Their entire culture is built around conquest, but they're also practical. They know a war with Earth would be costly. What about what? Trelnax told you? President Miller asked Dr. Carter. I think there's more going on in the Empire than we understand, Dr. Carter replied. Possibly a power struggle or ideological divide. We should proceed carefully. As they prepared to return to Earth, they received a message from the monitoring station near Jupiter. The Galtran fleet was pulling back, moving away from the solar system but not leaving entirely. They were taking up positions just beyond Pluto's orbit. They're giving us space, Admiral Bennett noted, but staying close enough to return quickly. A compromise, President Miller said. Just like our meeting. Dr. Carter looked out at the stars. This is just the beginning. Whether we end up with peace or war, everything has changed. Earth is now part of a larger story. 6 months passed since the meeting with the Galtran Empire. Earth continued to strengthen its defenses, but also prepared for possible peaceful relations. The Galtran fleet remained at the edge of the solar system, neither advancing nor retreating, completely. Then one morning, the long-range sensors detected a new ship entering the solar system. It was unlike the Galtran vessels, smaller, with a sleek design that seemed to shine with a soft blue light. It moved quickly, but made no aggressive actions. Unknown ship approaching, reported Lieutenant Natalie Woodward at Space Defense Command. Not Galtran design. Admiral Bennett studied the readings. What's their course? Directly toward Earth, sir. They're broadcasting on all frequencies. It appears to be a request for permission to approach. This was new. The Galtrans had never asked permission for anything. Admiral Bennett contacted President Miller, who quickly called together the Defense Council. Could it be a trick? Asked the President. The Galtrans trying a new approach? Dr. Carter analyzed the ship's signature. No, this technology is different. I think this is a third species. They decided to allow the ship to approach, but kept all defense systems ready. The strange vessel took up position in Earth orbit and sent a clear message. Greetings, people of Earth. We represent the Galactic Council. We request permission to land and speak with your leaders. The Galactic Council, the Galtrans had claimed. No such organization existed. This was becoming more interesting by the minute. A landing site was prepared at the International Spaceport in New Zealand, a neutral location built specifically for potential alien visitors. Security was tight, but the atmosphere was one of curiosity rather than fear. The ship landed gracefully. Its hull opened, and a single being emerged. She, they soon learned, was humanoid, but clearly alien. She had pale purple skin that seemed to shimmer slightly in the sunlight. Her eyes were large and completely silver with no visible pupils. She stood tall and moved with elegant grace. I am Nexil, she said through a translator device she carried. Senior diplomat of the Galactic Council. Thank you for allowing me to visit your world. Ambassador Laura Hayes, recently appointed as Earth's first official representative for alien relations, stepped forward to greet her. Welcome to Earth, Diplomat Nexil. I am Ambassador Hayes. We are honored by your visit, though somewhat surprised. The Galtran Empire told us no Galactic Council existed. Nexil made a sound that the translator indicated was gentle laughter. The Galtrans would say that. They've spent centuries pretending to be the only power in this sector of the galaxy. Over the next few days, Nexil explained many things to Earth's leaders. The Galactic Council was a coalition of 27 species who had joined together for mutual protection, trade, and cultural exchange. They respected each world's independence while working together on matters that affected all. We've been watching your interactions with the Galtran Empire, Nexil told them during a formal dinner. We were surprised by the outcome. How so? Asked President Miller. The Galtrans have conquered dozens of worlds. They claim to be the supreme power in the galaxy. You're the first to make them retreat. "We didn't want to fight," said Admiral Bennett, "but we've learned through bitter experience to be prepared for those who do." Nexil nodded. "Your dimensional displacement technology is remarkable. Most species who develop such abilities use them for conquest." "We've already conquered ourselves," Ambassador Hayes replied. "We nearly destroyed our civilization several times before we learned to work together. We have no interest in ruling others." The alien diplomat seemed pleased by this answer. Later, she made her real purpose clear. "The Council would like to formally invite Earth to join us," said Nexil. "Not as subjects, but as equals. Your perspective would be valuable." This was unexpected news. Earth joining a galactic organization? Just a year ago, most humans hadn't even been sure other intelligent life existed. As they discussed the offer, Dr. Carter remembered something. The Nexus key that Trell-Nax mentioned, the one from the crashed Arcani ship. He said it contained the location of their homeworld. "The Arcani are founding members of the Council," Nexil confirmed. "They've been hoping to contact you since their scout disappeared in your system 20 years ago. When they detected Galtran ships heading toward Earth, they feared the worst." "So they've been watching us too?" asked Captain Ellen Walsh. "Many have been watching," said Nexil. "Earth is unusual. You advance quickly. You imagine possibilities others don't see. And now you've stood against the Galtron Empire and won their respect. That hasn't happened before." Over the next few weeks, Earth's nations debated the offer to join the Galactic Council. Some were eager, seeing opportunities for trade and new knowledge. Others were cautious, concerned about losing independence or being drawn into conflicts they didn't understand. In the end, they decided to accept observer status, not full membership yet, but a first step toward joining the galactic community. The agreements were being finalized. Nexil asked one last question of Dr. Carter. "The technology you used against the Galtrans, the dimensional displacement, how long have you had it?" Dr. Carter smiled. "About 3 weeks before the Galtran arrived. We developed it specifically because our long-range sensors detected their fleet heading our way 6 months earlier." Nexil stopped walking. "You developed that technology in 6 months?" "We work best under pressure," Dr. Carter shrugged. "Most species take decades to perfect such technology," Nexil said, her silver eyes wide. "We didn't have decades," Admiral Bennett said simply. "We had months." Meanwhile, at the edge of the solar system, the Galtran fleet received orders from their emperor. After reviewing all reports and considering the implications, he had made a decision that would change the Empire forever. Admiral Vex Cool gathered his officers. "The Emperor has spoken. Earth will be recognized as an independent power. We will open diplomatic relations and establish trade agreements." War Commander Zach Vor was furious. "The Empire does not back down. This is shameful." But Fleet Admiral Renlac nodded in approval. "This is wisdom, not weakness. The humans have shown us something important. There are different kinds of strength." As the Galtran fleet prepared to send formal representatives to Earth, they detected the Council ship in orbit. "So the Council has found them too," Vexcool noted. "Things are changing quickly. The galaxy is becoming a more interesting place," agreed Renlac. Back on Earth, Ambassador Hayes stood with Nexil, watching the sunset over the Pacific Ocean. "You told the Galtrans that humanity gave them one warning," Nexil said. "Why only one?" Hayes smiled. "Because we meant it. We don't bluff, and we don't make threats we can't back up. If they had continued their aggression, we would have used everything we had to defend ourselves." "Like I said," Nexil replied, "your perspective will be valuable to the Council." As night fell, they could see the stars appearing overhead. Among them were the distant lights of the Galtran fleet and, further still, the countless worlds of the Galactic Council. Humanity's universe had suddenly become much larger, much more complex, and much more interesting, and it had all started with a single warning.